Okay, so you have your visa, you're ready to go, you're packing for Oxford. All right, what do you pack? What's the weather like there?
You need a raincoat.
Okay. Just one?
Yeah. Definitely coats, sweaters, jeans. It does, during the summertime, it does warm up a little bit. It can get into the low 80s. What do you say about low 80s?
Yeah, it can. I mean, in the summertime, in Oxford is a little farther south in the country. Yeah. It's kind of considered near the bottom of the Midlands, and so it's in kind of the southern part of the Cotswolds, and it's and so it can get warm. Yeah, it can get up high 80s here, and I think they might even break 90s in the hottest days
for a day or two.
But that's that is generally exceptional. Yeah. But it will get warm and really comfortable in the summer.
And you need wellies.
What are wellies?
Wellies are the rubber boots. They come in handy. I even hiked in mine. You got to get a really good pair though. They're definitely come in handy because it does rain and you do walk a lot. So you need something that's comfortable. You need comfortable shoes because everything is so centrally located. So you really don't need a car, unless you're maybe going to go on a trip and you want to rent a car. But you really don't need one because you can walk everywhere and or take a bus or a bike. And I lost 10 pounds the first month because I was just walking around so much. Because the States, it's not like that. It's so spread out. There, everything is so centrally located that everything's easy access to get to. So I'd say definitely comfortable shoes, jeans, scarves, hats, things like that.
If you do, just to piggyback on the car thing,
layer.
If you do intend to buy or rent a car, it's really useful to be able to drive stick because it's much cheaper both to rent and to
very common
to buy a car that is manual. But you will have, and eventually, if you stay there longer than a year, you'll have to get a British driving license, and they are generally strict on that. So you get a year on your international or American driver's license, but after that, you need to take the test. So if you do plan on doing that, you need to start that process early. Because once that time expires, they're strict about that. You can get in pretty good trouble.
It's like 100 to 200 pounds to get a license?
It can be expensive to get a license. I don't recall the exact cost, but it adds up pretty quick.
And how long does it take to get the license?
You do have to do their examination.
That's right. You got to take an exam that was, at least I remember, being more intense than our own driving exam. But the one thing is it's very standardized across the nation. Ours is state specific. Over when you get to England, everything is standardized across the nation. Generally, you don't have very few things that are specific by county or something. So that's beneficial.
But again, the trains and buses are very easy to take.
That's right. You don't.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't need it, but if you're considering it, just keep that in mind that after a year you'll need to get their license. So you're good for that.
And if I could add on a little bit more to what Laura said in terms of what to bring. I think Laura hit it. The best thing that you can do is, if you want to bring something, bring things that you won't be able to get over on that side of the ocean.
Which is what?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Are there a lot of things, or just maybe very specific things? Whether it's clothes, sizes, food.
Good.
Undershirts.
That's right. We found clothes, textiles, to be more expensive over in England than the United States. Just basic things such as underwear, which they call pants over there. Things like that. They're more expensive. And so I think clothes are a big thing. However, keep in mind that when you're bringing things over to the UK, whether you're shipping them, they're being shipped to you, or you're bringing them through a suitcase, you have to declare them. And if you declare them, you're going to be they tax things like that, like textiles. They tax them heavily. And so you have to open them, right? They have to be, if they're still in their wrapping, then you will be taxed for them.
Okay.
So for
if they're new, take it out of the package.
New, take it out of the package. Take everything out of the package that you can. Otherwise, if they see it, they'll try to tax you, which makes sense. If you're having it, it's not worth having people ship materials, for instance, from the United States that are new and packaged over to you, because by the time you pay for them from customs, you could have bought a comparable product there. And so that's the thing when you get to England. You buy British things, because if you're seeking to buy your international, American food, that they will have been taxed so heavily that they'll be much more expensive. But I think that would be, for us, for me, I think that was the biggest thing. I found clothes to be.
It was easy for me.
For me, I think.
But I was a bargain shopper.
Yeah, I found clothes to be
Okay,
expensive.
so shopping, it's available, clothes are available, but they might be more expensive, or you might have to go to markets or something where you bargain, not a big chain store.
Right. And what was the one chain store starts with a P?
Primark.
Primark was great. It was like their Walmart, and they're pretty cheap. You can actually get some good outfits from there, and they're all over the UK. So that's a good store to head up. And they also have a TK Maxx that's just like TJ Maxx, and they have homewares and home goods stuff that you might need for your home, like sheets and blankets and things like that we had to get our first day there, because when we went to our home, we didn't have any sheets, we didn't have any towels, we had nothing, and we were so tired. We didn't have a car either, so we had to walk there. So yeah, maybe pack some basics as well, like sheets, and if you can, at least one. Yeah, because it gets pricey.
Your dollar won't go as far there, and so
Right.
if you're able to
Try to pack as many basics as you can.
use your suitcases. Use that space when you go over there. Use it well. Things that you value. Just fill your suitcases, because it's more expensive to live there.
All right, and Laura, did you find that you couldn't find any special beauty products that you liked from the States, or was everything available there just pricey?
Pricey, the same price. So say a foundation from Estee Lauder is $32. It's £32 there, which is
More,
very
right?
expensive.
Especially, yeah.
I would have my mom or my mom send me products from the States. It would actually be cheaper for her to do that in smaller packages than for
Out
me.
of the wrappings, though, right? So
Yeah.
it didn't get taxed. Yeah.
So yeah,
Out of the boxes.
things like that were very useful, and same with perfumes, colognes. They do get expensive unless you buy them in the airport on your
Would
way
you
coming
recommend
in.
that? Is that a good idea? Buying some of these products in the airport?
Duty free.
Yeah, they're duty free. That's one thing that you can do.
Exchanging money as well. What would you say? That's the airport too.
Well, exchanging money a lot depends on both how you plan to bank there. Your visa status actually will affect what access you have to banks as well. So, Tier 4 student visa might limit you in the accounts that you're allowed to set up in banks, as opposed to a Tier 1 work visa, which I think gives you more flexibility. So that'll be something you want to check on your visa status. You want to find out what access you have to national banks in the UK, and what privileges, if you have access to them, which you will, what type of accounts, because generally you're not going to have the same freedom of accounts as you would as if you're a UK citizen. They'll look at your visa, what tier you are, and they might limit you, particularly if you're only going to be a student. Then they'll want to treat you as an international, somebody who's not really been adjusted into their society with the same type of financial responsibilities as a normal worker or resident would.
But with the banking too, I mean, you have to have that set up before you can even get a cell phone, before you can get internet. Right?
Yes, that's true. I mean, you'll go over there if you've not been in the UK, you won't have any credit, and so it might not be a bother to you, but you might be used to being in the United States and going to your nearest T-Mobile store and being offered a new iPhone, on a plan. Like, they won't do that for you, because you'll have no financial history to which they have access. And so you'll have to start out bare minimum. A bank and just paying your normal utilities is the best way that you begin to start building that credit that history.
Mm.
When it comes, so just expect that. But thankfully, you can set all of that up before you go over if you really want to. It used to be not to be so easy, but now you can set all that up to where you have access to international plans and the like that your own domestic United States carriers can provide for you. So you don't even really have to become so involved in their own setup over there. If you're exchanging money, that's another thing to check with your bank about, because certain banks will give you really good perks for how you for withdrawals of your money. They might just charge you a flat rate every time you do it, and so you can live off paying cash or just using your debit card or even your American credit card. And it might end up being cheaper to do that than to taking out money, or exchanging money, which can fluctuate depending on the market and depending on who you're exchanging money with, because prices can be really tough. So that's something you want to do ahead of time. You want to check with your bank, check with other banks, American banks, about what type of programs they have for people both traveling, living internationally, because some are very good. And if you do plan to just take cash or take traveler's check or some form of currency which you'll have to exchange with you there, you don't do it with a bank because they're going to give you the worst. You don't do it with a British bank. They'll give you a horrible rate. You'll want to do it with some type of exchange company over there. At which point, you want to be able, the more money that you transfer at a time, the more money that you exchange at a time, the better rate that you'll get. And you should feel the freedom to negotiate with them, because they will do that. I mean, they might play a little hardball, but at the end of the day, the more money you bring to the table, the more flexibility they'll allow you in terms of the rate that you get. And you also want to study that a little bit when you get there as well, because there'll be some that are more flexible. That's something you can ask around. You can even ask your bank what they think about if you set up a bank account. But you'll want to ask around about where to get the best rates. When to get the best rates, because depending on, you don't want to do it on the weekend generally, when near the end of the week. Those are the worst times. And so you want to ask around a little bit and get some information on that.
Okay, so how much money should someone bring initially when they first move to England, just to get them by at least till they get their first paycheck or whatever?
We did a cashier's check, didn't we?
We had a cashier's check, which in retrospect, I don't think I would recommend.
Right.
Because it took so long.
How long did it take? Like 3 weeks? Or?
It took at least 4, I think, to clear. I think they said between 4 to 6, and it might have taken longer. I remember taking at least 4.
Because we were nervous about bringing cash.
That's right. A lot will depend on your situation, on where you're going, what you already have set up. So, for instance, if you're living in a college, you've already paid your room, that is. Then you might feel a little bit more freedom to take less cash, less money. I would say now, based on our experience in Durham, I would say now that you don't really have to take all that much if you've done some good research with your domestic bank here in the United States. You can keep your money here and just make sure you know how much it will cost you to withdraw it, for instance, at an ATM. You'll have to set up with them so that they know you're doing it, so they don't think some type of fraud is occurring. And I would really recommend shopping even banks around to see if you plan on being a student, what is going to be your best best rates for withdrawing money or using your cards over there, which they will accept, Visa, MasterCard. And American Express is much less common as here in the United States, but it's still regular at normal businesses.
How much did we bring cash-wise that helped us to get on our feet?
That's right. I think we brought between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds, just to be safe.
And that was enough?
That was enough. That was plenty.
Because then we could put down our first and last month's rent.
Because I think I had already paid rent, and that allowed us to buy supplies. Because I think at that time our bank didn't have nearly as good rates and plans as they do now when we first went over there. And so we just took we made an exchange here in the United States, which is another thing to consider, which you'll get much better rates, I would say, here in the United States than you would over in
Through the
England.
bank or through the airport?
The airport is a bit hit and miss. Sometimes you can find excellent rates at the airport. You can, on any given day, you can find some really good rates, and they might run some really good deals. But they're going to want at the airport. They're going to want it to be in bulk. At the bank, they'll be much more steady. I felt the bank was never very bad, but you're probably best to go through some type of exchange company here in the United States as well. But like I said, the more money you bring to the table, and if you do a little research about when to do it, about maybe some projections, about how strong, for instance, the dollar will be, how strong then you can actually play it to where you can. If you're doing a lot of money, you can actually save yourself quite a bit. So I would say take some time and research those things online, such as projections about the strength of the dollar to the pound if you're going over to England, when exactly to make the exchange.